Welcome back to Retro Inc. with myself, Adam, and this week with no Jeremy, but the lovely, gorgeous Andy. How are you, mate?
Hello, mate. I'm all right, thank you. Yeah, no, Jeremy.
So you've had a busy week. I've had a busy week. I've got a little bit of Star Wars Celebration blues, mate. To be honest.
Yeah,
You
I
were
wasn't
busy.
there.
I was.
Oh,
I was
yeah,
there with them in spirit and watching avidly. The
I've had
moment
no
it stopped,
time.
I was off, yeah.
Yeah.
So from all that, I did order the Hasbro Luke Skywalker helmet, not due to October. I've ordered the first wave of those retro figures. Have you seen the retro
Do
figures?
you want me to have to do another time code here and do the same thing I just said to Jeremy? Like, 'cause
No.
don't rub all this in. I want that. I want that bucket. I want that
That's a nice
bucket.
bucket. That's a nice bucket.
Tell me when it arrives, and if you suddenly seem to perish off the cliffs near
Beachy
Brighton,
head.
yeah, Beachy Head or something,
I
it
won't be
wasn't
wearing the
me.
helmet at the
It
time.
wasn't me. Yeah.
They're all pre-orders, so I can always opt out if the money's a bit tight. But I really do want those things. And the problem is, I think now for me being a collector is that I am really, really like, do I really need that? Whereas
Mm.
before, it used to be about buying everything with Star Wars on the top.
I can help you out there. You see that bucket just behind you, the
Yeah,
Stormtrooper one.
yeah, that.
Replace it with that and send that to me. I'll look
Oh,
after it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, not a problem. I can keep
Okay,
hold of that for you indefinitely.
all right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll
okay.
talk about it afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
See if you want
have
to be on
you
the next
managed?
episode.
Have you managed to put your beady eyes on any screens this week and watched anything?
I've watched two things this week,
Yes.
and they're both that I've watched Hop,
Oh,
which
yeah.
I adore that
It's a
movie.
wonderful film,
I
and
do.
it's got my old school friend Russell in it.
Yeah, it's got Russell in it. It also has Hugh Laurie in it.
Hugh Laurie,
Yeah,
yeah.
Cyclops. I can never
Yeah,
remember his name.
I
The
can't
dude
think of him.
from yeah, he's
Yeah,
quite good. Kaylee Kuko from
yeah.
Big Bang. I really enjoy it, mate. There's not
It's
many
a great
Easter
movie.
films out there, and they did this right. It was just a really good, nice bit of fun. My daughter
Yeah,
loves it. I like it, and
it's a
Russell
good Easter
Brand.
film.
Yeah, it is a very good. And Russell Brand brings his usual charm.
He does indeed.
He's
He
just
would do
got
as well, wouldn't he? Because he's from Farrock, isn't it?
Thurrock in it, bruv.
He's from
Um,
Grays. He's my yeah.
he's
Um.
Ring. Journey 2 was the other one I watched.
Oh,
The
really?
Mysterious Islands with
Yeah.
Dwayne the Rock Johnson in it. Have you ever seen this? And Michael Caine?
No. No.
It's Vanessa
Is it?
Hudgens. It's laughably terribly great. It's just a really good. I mean, as you can tell, it's been half term, so I've just watched kids stuff, and yeah, I've just watched that with my daughter, and we just thoroughly enjoy it. It's a cute little film. Terrible CGI. Um, Dwayne Johnson in a very early role, not being able to act half as well as he can do now, and given the fact he can't act very well now, it's not great. But yeah, it's just fun, mate. It's exactly what it says on the tin. It's
Well, don't you want fun films at Easter? You
yeah,
do.
it's a Vernian Tao.
The
It's just
Rabbit's a good
a
movie to watch at Easter, isn't it?
yeah, but that is actually a good film though as
Yeah,
well.
it's a
That's very
really good movie. So you got Don Leeson, or how do you pronounce his name? Is it
Domhnall.
Don?
I think yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Leeson's there, and then you've got obviously the voice of Peter Rabbit being
James
James
Corden,
Corden, and the
Rose
wonderful
Byrne,
Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Gyllenhaal.
Gyllenhaal is Maggie in it? No, no, no.
No, it's Rose Byrne.
Rose Byrne. That's right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
I was because Nanny McPhee, of course, I was thinking of
She's
there.
lovely. Rose
She's
Byrne.
lovely. Yeah, yeah. So it's a great movie. That
Maggie Gyllenhaal isn't in Nanny McPhee either. I think you're
isn't
getting confused with
she?
someone else here.
Isn't Maggie in the first Nanny McPhee?
No,
Is she not? Is she not
no.
the second one?
I don't know about the second one, but she's
I,
not in the first one.
I thought it was. She was in Nanny McPhee for some reason there.
Not unless I missed her.
Oh, I don't
Are
know.
you
Maybe
thinking of Maggie Smith
Maggie Smith.
instead of Maggie Gyllenhaal?
Oh, oh, I thought she was in that. There we go. Anything else really?
um, I went to watch Bodyguard
Maggie
last night.
Gyllenhaal is in Nanny McPhee in The Big Bang.
Oh, there's a second one. I haven't seen that, so there you go.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah,
I'll let you have
that's the one
that.
I really like. That one. Yeah.
Um, I tried to watch Bodyguard last night with That dude from Game of Thrones in it, I can never remember his name.
Uh-huh.
I fell asleep on the sofa before I even hit play.
Yeah,
What
Jeremy said he fell asleep watching The Silence on Netflix, and I found that a bit weird.
I did watch something else this week as well that was a bit more grown up, and it's because you said it was on Netflix. Lucy.
Oh yeah.
I watched that again. Great film, isn't it?
Okay, what don't you like about that film?
Nothing. I've suddenly realised that I think Luke Besson actually might be my favourite director. By watching that, I adore Lucy. I think it's visually gorgeous. It's a brilliant bit of storytelling. Yes, it's over the top and stupid, but this is what I suddenly realised about Luke Besson that I love is he's not afraid to go there. So many directors do the side step or do the exposition and do, no, he goes straight in for the kill, Luke
Yeah.
Besson. He's not afraid to show the silliness, like he does the flashbacks to, the first cave person, the first human being Lucy, and he does that, and he's not afraid to show it. And it was very reminiscent of that starting scene of Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets, where
Hmm.
he goes there, he shows the city being built, and meeting all the new aliens, and he just does it. He just does this thing. He goes, right, we need to show this on screen, and we're going to do it no matter how silly it is. And Luke Besson does it in such a way that it just works. It just doesn't matter that it's silly. I think he does it with, you see the scene in Valerian where they go to that weird strange planet and you see him with the pearls and
Yes, yeah.
yeah. And if anyone else did that, I don't think it would work. But Besson's got this certain charm about the way he directs stuff that just makes it acceptable. He does it in The Fifth Element. Everything's garish, over the top, and ridiculous, and it works. And it's the same with Lucy. This story is redonkulous, man. I mean, it's talking about using brain capacity. It's not how it works, right? But he doesn't care. He just goes, just go with it. Just have fun with this movie, and just
He's been, I mean, as a producer, he's produced some pretty much just go on with it and go for it movies, isn't he? Like The Transporter and
taken.
Taxi, Taken.
Yeah, but this is what I mean. This is why I've suddenly realised he's one of my favourites, because literally every film of his that I've watched, whether it's produced, written, or directed, I've enjoyed. It's not like there's directors out there, like even George Lucas. I can turn around and go, I don't really like Attack of the Clones. I've said it before, but there's nothing of Besson's that I've seen that I can honestly turn around and go, that wasn't for me.
Mm,
Even the ones that are slightly out of my wheelhouse,
yeah,
I've enjoyed.
yeah. Did you
And
know he produced Nil by Mouth?
did you do that?
Yeah, produced it. Yeah.
Fantastic,
I mean,
again.
it's a gripping film, and
Oh
then
yes, I did know that. That was part of the deal with Gary Oldman even being in Fifth
yeah,
Element. That
yeah,
was that. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
I remember that. Because he
He's
said to him,
pretty.
to
He's
do
been
this, and I'll
involved in
pay.
some films that you think, the guy has Kiss of the Dragon wasn't a bad
Yeah,
film he
no,
produced.
and that was actually one of the ones that I noticed, because Kiss of the Dragon. I'm not really into martial arts movies. That is one of
Contact,
my favorite martial
yeah.
arts movies.
Well,
He also
Contact. Have you
produced
seen that one
Unleashed.
too?
Yes,
Yeah,
On
Unleashed.
Back and Unleashed. They are three of my favorite martial arts movies for somebody that doesn't like martial arts movies. And I suddenly realised Luke Besson's name is on this, and I was going through his IMDb list when I was watching Lucy, going, "This guy is solid gold. I want more. I want more Luke Besson. Like I need it. I need it in my life."
Yeah, he's done some incredible films, and they are worth visiting because each one is very different than the last.
Yeah,
Really different than the last. I mean, he likes his police movies.
yeah,
He does a lot of stuff in Paris, doesn't he? He did that film, Monster in Paris, I think, which he was co-producing.
yeah.
He's done La Planque, which is another produced film. Well, he's done lots of stuff in France, so that's kind of I guess, where he sort of thrives. But on the whole, when he does his fantasy films, they are beautiful.
Mate, they're stunning. I mean, you look at. I mean, I'm gonna lump Lucy into that category of these the trifecta of his that I think are amazing. Is Fifth Element, Valerian, and Lucy. They've all very different movies, but they all have that Luc Besson charm about them. That, like I say, he just runs with the story and says, just enjoy the ride. I will go silly. I will go crazy. I'll go colourful, um, unbelievable, and completely outlandish, and it just works. And Besson, I think he's flawless, man. Everything I've seen, Lucy, I can't see a fault in it. And the only fault is really is that it is an over the top story, but he never claims that it's not. You know, he never
Yeah.
at one point throws technical scientific fact into the mix for this film. You know, it's just Morgan Freeman standing on a stage talking about the human brain, and they don't really go into any in-depth things about it. You know, there's no scientific fact behind it, and I love the way he cuts in the all the different clips of like the scene where she's standing in the lobby, and she, you know, that guy from Game of Thrones, Peter
Yeah.
Asbeck, has just
Hmm.
sent her in there
Hmm.
with the case, and they call the guy down from upstairs. As soon as they call, you get the video of the jaguar in the underbush
Yes. Oh,
going for the
yeah.
kill, and then when they come
Awesome
through,
cuts.
they're
Yeah.
coming towards her, and starts running, and then they take when they grab her, they take the gazelle, the leopard takes the cheetah takes the gazelle down, and that whole scene, the way that's done, is brilliant, and it was very, you know, they did it again when Morgan Freeman was standing on stage talking about the human brain,
Brain.
and they
Yeah.
were throwing all these different clips in, and this is what I'm saying, he doesn't shy away from just doing the bizarre and crazy, and it works. I mean, that was a weird cut for that cheetah scene, but
Well,
it works.
it is at the beginning, but once she takes the drug,
Yeah,
then suddenly you're like, those cuts were there for a reason.
yeah, it all works.
Because
It,
they're showing that time's linear and that, yeah, it's a very clever film.
yeah,
Have you seen a movie that I don't want to muller this, but a movie called Extraordinary Adventures of Adele Sec, I think it's called Adele
no,
Blanc-Sec, where he did the advent. It's an adventure set in like the early 20th century, focusing on a popular novelist and her dealings with the would-be suitors, the cops, monsters, and other distractions. It's a really a real fantasy film that he did, and it's yeah, it didn't do very well. I think it was one of those sort of straight to DVD, but it's worth checking out. When he does fantasy, he does incredible work, and yeah, Lucy is just an amazing
yeah.
film. I think he's a very charming guy. I think that's why I think a lot of actors like working with him. I've seen interviews with him, and he seems very charming.
Mm.
He's done a couple of animated films too, isn't he? I think he did
It,
After Three and
he
After
did
Seven.
another Valerian and Laureline
Yeah,
animated movie. I've heard you say about his work ethic. There was one thing, and I know it was Bruce Willis had trouble on the Fifth Element set with him because he said he'd never seen a man work like he had worked. You know, Bruce would be called to set when he needed to be called to set, and you know, it was his time on, and Luke Besson was like, "No, you're here, and you watch it being
right.
filmed, and
Yeah,
you're there." And they had come to an agreement. I can't remember. You know, it's like usually a 5 day working week, and they come to an agreement of, okay, you're on set 24/7, but you can do 4 day week. And that was the compromise they come to because Bruce Willis was like, I'm not used to this. I go to my trailer, and when it's my time, I get called on, I do my bit, and I go. And he would have none of it. He was like, you want to be on my movie? You're here seeing it get filmed, and you're here watching the performances. And I kind of think that probably brings some of the charm to some of his movies because those people are 100% understanding of
committed
what's going on.
and
You
understand.
know, yeah,
Yeah.
they see the performances of other actors and how that is influencing the sort of the aesthetic and the aura of the
Mm,
movie.
mm.
And I think you get that sometimes in some movie making, especially when you see it in films where you hear people didn't get on or they weren't on screen together. It can be disjointed. You know, the performances can be disjointed. And I think when you're there, they're probably playing off of each other. You look at his and Ruby Rod's, Bruce Willis and Ruby Rod's chemistry.
Yeah,
There is none, but that's why it works so well. Every time he says
exactly.
something to him, he's being over the top, and he's just like, "So how you feel?" And he's like, thrilled,
Right.
and that's because I honestly think when they're standing there together and he's watching his performance as Ruby Rod, he's probably going, "I know how to play off of this guy. I'm not just being thrown into the scene with him and have to deal with it." And Luke Besson's work ethic, if that's what creates these films, then more power to him, man, because
Mm.
he's fantastic.
Well, as you know, I watched it the week before,
Yeah,
and absolutely loved it, man. And it's worth watching again. It was one of those films that when you think, "Oh, okay, I haven't seen this for a while, and you just like, this is so damn good,
yeah, it is a
so
really
damn
good
good,
film.
and it ends really really well as well. That's the other thing. Some films that you get into halfway through thinking I'm getting a bit bored, but you do want to see how Lucy ends, and then when it does end, you're like, wow, what a trip, man. It's awesome. Um, Yeah, I've watched a movie that I didn't think I was going to enjoy, but I wanted to give it a go. I like sort of end of the world dystopian stuff, but what I
Yeah.
didn't expect to
Yeah.
enjoy was This Is the End, starring James Franco, Jonah Hill, Seth Rogen, and Jay Busharell. Um, directed by Evan Goldberg and Seth Rogen, of course. And man, I love that film. If you haven't seen this is a real black comedy. They all play themselves, and Seth Rogen and a bevy of other Hollywood notables are stuck together at a party when the
For legal
apocalypse
reasons, we
launches.
say they play caricatures of themselves
Caricatures
because
of
I don't think
themselves.
Michael Cera is at all like that in real
No, I
life.
wouldn't imagine he is. But it was brilliant, and I really enjoyed it. And I didn't expect the end. I didn't expect to hear music in it that was in it, and but
It's a
what I
great ending.
yeah, it was really
I
good,
can
man.
tell you a little fact about this movie as
That is a
well.
sort of film that, if you said to your other half, at the time when it came out, probably 2013 when it did come out, should we just go and see a film at the cinema? And
That is one of them, isn't it?
good time movie.
Yeah.
Just you put
The
your
um
brain out there, and I'll put my brain outside, and we just go and watch this.
the Michael Cera thing, right? He's
So good.
he is fantastic in that. But there is a little thing I learned about this. You know the scene where he's doing something on the pool table
Yeah.
and there's Rihanna standing in front of him
Uh-huh.
and she turns around and slaps him after he has a
Yeah.
grope.
Mhm.
I read about this and in contractually she said like, yeah, you don't actually slap me, you're just gonna, give it a tap. And he went for the full whammy, and that slap from her is actually real.
Do you know what?
It
It
connects.
looked.
Yeah, it connects. And I mean, that it was all in good jest. I mean, she'd kind of given you a heads up. You touch me, I'll slap you. And he went,
Yeah.
all right. And he did. And she proper belts him one in that
Yeah.
scene.
It's a
And
real.
you can see, if you watch that scene back, you can see him actually laugh. It's like, it's not just acting. There's a real, yeah, I did it moment now, which I don't blame him personally.
It's a fantastic film.
It is a fantastic movie. Yeah,
So I
it's
went
just silly
from
fun.
that. I went from that going and I went backwards to a movie that they actually speak about in that film, which is super bad.
Yeah.
This again, Jonah Hill, Michael Cera's in it, and Seth Rogen. So I went back and watched the very film that they quote in
Yeah.
that film. And if you haven't seen Superbad, this is about two best friends and their quest to buy booze for a party in the hopes of scoring with girls, and it leads them on to a series of wacky misadventures. It's
Honestly, if you're listening to this podcast and you haven't seen Superbad, just pause it and
yeah,
go and watch
go watch it.
Superbad. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
brilliant movie. It made Seth Rogen, not Seth Rogen, Jonah Hill that
yeah.
film. Sarah's always kind of sat there simmering, hasn't he? Because he did what was that program he did on the American one? Oh, I can't remember what it's called now. He was in that anyway.
So have I guessed what film I went on to after watching Superbad? Bearing in mind you got Jonah Hill and Michael Cera in it, and Christopher Mintz-Plasse. But I went on to watch. Well, I went to go and watch Scott Pilgrim.
Ugh, I hate that film.
Mate, I had to switch it off.
I really don't like it.
Now, I don't know if it was because I wasn't in the mood, because I'd just gone through watching these two comedies and they were great. And I went on then to go and watch Idris Elba in his Netflix series. Um, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And then I went on to go and I had to watch that. And I think the next day I went on to watch uh, yeah, Scott Pilgrim, and I just didn't like it, mate. I think that's the second time I've tried to watch it. I can't even remember all
I
these.
think with Scott Pilgrim, that it's got this fan base
Now I
of
love the
people that enjoy
director.
the
Now I
comic.
love the director. Who's the director of that?
Is it
Scott Pilgrim.
Miller? Isn't it?
No, it's written by him. Scott Pilgrim, I think, isn't it? Oh God, isn't it? What's his Guy Ritchie's mate?
Oh, Edgar Wright, isn't it?
Yeah, Edgar Wright. Is it Edgar Wright? Did it? Yeah, I think it's Edgar
I'm
Wright.
not sure.
Yeah,
I didn't.
I
I
can't.
didn't rate the film, mate.
Anyway,
I turned it off after 45
no,
minutes.
mine's just gone completely blank. But it was that kind of film that I thought I should really like this. It's a very nerdy movie. Why don't I like this? I couldn't remember why. Um,
I just don't like it.
yeah,
I think it's poorly done. I don't think Sarah's strong enough to be a leading actor in things. I think he's good as an ensemble cast or a duo, but I don't think Sarah's got the chops
It,
to pull off a film.
yeah.
I just didn't. I don't know, man. It just never rung true. And I'm not a fan. I've never read the comic. And I think that's why it's popular. It's got this group of people that like it. And by all accounts, what I've heard is it's very true to its source material. So more power to it. But it's just not for me, Scott
Yeah.
Pilgrim. Like it
Yeah.
really wasn't for me.
You want something light and funny? Definitely check out Turn Up Charlie with Idris Elba. It's about a down and out DJ who plots to rebuild his music career. And he ends up working for a nanny of his famous best friend. And that little girl is a wild 11-year-old daughter, and he has to really work for his money. It's very enchanting. It's worth a look, and do check that out. Um, there's been some news this week, isn't there?
Well,
On
can I just touch on the Game of Thrones thing because I did watch that this week as well.
Yeah,
I know you don't watch
there is
it,
some
so
Game of Thrones news, but
right.
I don't think we should talk about it until
I
Jeremy's with
we're
us.
not
But
going to talk about Game of Thrones news. I just want to sort of recap episode one. I know that you haven't seen it yet, so I'm going to stay spoiler free here. Okay,
okay,
I'm going to stay completely spoiler free
okay.
as much as I can. So if you don't want to know anything about it, tune out now for
Well,
about a couple of minutes, because that's all it'll be. But it's just my thoughts on the episode. Was I was a little bit disappointed.
oh,
I think no, it's not a bad thing. I just think it was 2 years or a year and a half of waiting. I wanted, not expected, I wanted a bigger, grander episode, but actually what we got was a lot of um, reunions and story setup for the rest of this series. That's all it was. It was kind of putting people into place, getting the world ready for the Battle of Winterfell and for this end game that we're coming to with the overarching story. So it was just after a year and a half, I kind of wanted to see some major deaths, some violence, and some battles. And what we got was a lot of. It was like setting up the chessboard, ready for the battle.
right.
And I was a little bit, and this is the only other thing, I was a little bit put out by the CGI for the dragons. There's a scene where people get on the dragons to have a fly around, and it kind of reminded me of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone when they get on the broomsticks.
Did it?
Yeah, just the background, the way it was shot, it just. But then I was thinking to myself, maybe they're redistributing the budget for this series in the places where it's really needed because there is only so much money to make this. And if we've got an hour and a half long battle in one episode and probably some of the grandest battle scenes coming up in TV history and film history, they're probably saving the budget for that. The dragons looked good when they were on the floor, but I just felt when they were flying around, it looked quite early Game of Thrones rather than the later stuff. So I think it was just probably down to budgetary restraints for that. Aside from that, it was just a Game of Thrones episode, but I think I would lump it in the sort of the lower end of the table of excitement and wonder. And I was just a little bit.
Are
Oh,
most do you think that most first episodes of a new series are a little bit
yeah,
warm to?
yeah. And it was my own fault for feeling this way. And this is what I said. I don't think it was just my expectations. Was I went in and realistically, as a person who watches a lot of film and critiques it and TV, I should have turned around and went, "This is just going to be setting up the series," which is what most first episodes do. There was nothing major. There was nothing. There's a couple of moments. And the only other thing I'll say is Bran annoys the crap out of me. Like the sooner they get rid of Bran or whatever, the better, because that story is just boring. And I know it's probably going to be one of the most integral parts to the whole saga and series, but I just think like give him a rest now because he's a bit of a. It just sucks the life out of the scene.
Where do you think it's going to end up and go with Brandon?
I'm not going to get into that here. I want Jeremy here for if we're going to do we'll do this mid season. We can have a real get a lay of the battlefield and see where we're going to go with theories. I mean, you've heard my wife. She thinks all men must die. She thinks that is going to be the case, not to a global scale, but
Yeah.
like all the male leaders and they're going to be wiped out. And you see this, and I mean, kind of get it because all the way through it, it's about strong, empowered women. And you look at Daenerys, you look at Cersei. I can't remember her name, but the young girl that's the lord of one of the in the north. she kicks ass, man. Like nobody wants to argue with her over anything. And Brienne of Tarth. I mean, these Arya. We've got Sansa Stark. I mean, these are all characters that their arcs have built on, from snowflakes to some of the most feared and powerful people in this story. And you actually look at people like Jon Snow and that, they're wet. There is nothing. Jon Snow is just a bit boring, to be honest with you. Like, so yeah, I mean, she's got her theories. I've got mine. I'll see where it goes as this series sort of like progresses and ends. You know, the whole thing ends. But my biggest one, and we spoke about it before, there ain't going to be a throne at the end of this. There ain't going to be an Iron Throne. That thing is going to get shattered by ice and fire, and that's probably going to be Daenerys' choice, because she don't want that throne. Why would you want to sit on the throne of your mad father and be put in that place? You know, you'd want to start something new here with your new husband, nephew, boyfriend, nephew. I don't know if you know that, but yeah, I mean, this is the thing. I see this going in a completely off tangentially now. The next few episodes are going to be crazy. I've got this feeling as of tonight. I'll watch it tomorrow when I come home. I'll be on a media blackout all day again. I'll watch it when I come home tomorrow night, and I think it's going to be a big shocker in episode 2. I wouldn't be surprised if one of the big guys goes. But we'll see. There you go.
Well, I don't know when I'm going to get around to watching it, but I am so looking forward to it when I do. And certainly when that DVD Blu-ray box set comes out, it's going to be pretty awesome. I think one day that's going to, nice big set of those.
I know they're selling them in Asda at the moment for £12 a go.
Are they really?
For the seasons, yeah. I don't know what season 7 is. I think that's more expensive. But I think it's like 1 to 5 or 6 is £12.
That's very good. So if you haven't watched it, why? And if you want to watch it, £12 for a season is not bad at all, mate. Another very empowering woman, and I know George Martin is a big fan of empowering women, but so are DC. And DC's Wonder Woman is shaping up to be a hell of a year in 2020. And also, if you're just a big fan of DC movies, because not only is there the Wonder Woman movie, but there's also the Birds of Prey movie, which is going to be making its screen debut. And obviously they're making a sequel to 2017's Wonder Woman. Now, did you like Wonder Woman?
Not at all, mate. Not at all.
Well, some did. I really did. And I think that, getting Diana Prince back in action, and this time facing the scariest enemy of all, the 1980s, which we love. Wonder Woman is going to be set in 1984, and this film is scheduled for release, I think, in June of 2020. It'd be the second DCEU film released in 2020, following Birds of Prey's February debut. Now, I'm still not sure how they're going to chuck in Chris Pine's character, Trevor, into the mix, because we saw him blow up in a plane. But this is how comic books.
Yeah.
So you just go, well, that'll be interesting when that happens. I did manage to see Shazam as well, and must admit that you've got to see, mate. I think I absolutely love it.
No, unfortunately, I've bitten the bullet this week. Tuesday night, I'm going to see Wonder Woman. Not Wonder Woman, Captain Marvel, sorry. Because Endgame's obviously this week. It'll be, the day this drops, it comes out. Full distribution, it will come out. And I haven't seen Captain Marvel yet. And I know the story, I know what happens in it, but I think I owe it to myself and Marvel to go and watch this before I go see Endgame.
Good idea.
Because it's got to be done. I can't go into this story not seeing everything. I've watched Ant-Man and the Wasp now. I've got that out of the way. Wasn't a great fan. It didn't really do much. It was just more of the same of Ant-Man. But Captain Marvel has to be seen, I think, because I don't want to. My biggest thing is with Ant-Man, it doesn't really matter if I've not seen it because I know who the character is. I don't want to go into Endgame and suddenly be thrust into this new character and have no idea who she is, what she does. I mean, I know, but not seen Brie Larson's interpretation of that on screen, and it will feel alien to me because I'll be watching that and not Endgame. Do you get my point? Yeah. So I need to just be fully focused on this film because, man, I am so stoked for next week. I cannot wait.
Oh,
literally any moment I get next weekend to go to the cinema and see that, I'm there. I'm gone.
All 3 hours of it.
Yeah.
Going back to Wonder
Maybe
Woman.
6.
Originally, Wonder Woman 1984 was intended to be the next DCU film after Shazam, but it was previously scheduled for November the 1st, 2019 release. But that release was pushed back to the late 2018. And now Warner Brothers, they haven't really given a reason for that delay, but it's likely due to the fact that the untitled Marvel film, probably Guardians of the Galaxy 3, vacated the July 2020 slot. Next year, that summer area that we're coming into now is going to be absolutely packed with superhero films. If they're not Marvel, they're certainly going to be DC. We've got also this year we've got plenty of that stuff coming our way too. We've got the Joker film later on this year, and I think that's going to be a real cult success. But next week, man, Endgame. I'm scheduled to see it next Saturday afternoon, yeah, I'm excited, but unfortunately, after a week of Star Wars, Episode 9 is the one for me. And there could be better timing, could it? Right at the end of the year, December, Star Wars is there as it should be. And we've gone through theory after theory, haven't we, about Thanos and how he's going to do things and how the Avengers are going to get back. But there has been a little bit of information that has come out, and some of it has been, I think, to do with, again, people rereading the comics and stuff. But that little teaser trailer this week, the TV spot dropped, and I think it showed.
Right, can I bear you one moment? I'm going to take my earpiece out. When you finish saying this, then give me a thumbs up, okay?
Obviously, Andy hasn't seen it, and I think it showed a little bit of a sort of a hint to where the films are going. He doesn't know that I'm telling you this, and he thinks I'm spoiling it for and doing a spoiler, but actually, I'm not telling you anything. Okay, Andy, thumbs up here. Okay, all good.
That doesn't happen, does it? That's amazing. I didn't hear any of that. I don't want to hear it, to be honest with you.
Uh,
I'm now trying to go in as clean as I can with
Shall I
this.
tell him, listeners? And I didn't tell anything. I just said that in the TV spot that there was a little hint to perhaps what could happen, but obviously I wasn't going to spoil that for our listeners, and I wasn't going to spoil that for you. I wouldn't do that.
Right, okay, fair enough.
But yeah, these TV spots are coming. They're very quick. They often show majority of the previous teaser, and then just a little bit more. And they're great. They're really, really
I've
building.
seen this all things must end or whatever it is. Ones they keep doing with every story has an end with all the different characters. So you've got Iron Man, little vignettes of him through the years, and then I've seen one with with Black Widow.
Yes.
So it's just little clips of them through their movies throughout the years.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's all the ones I've tried to watch or I have watched.
Yeah.
Because I'm getting to that point now where, do you know what? Theorizing sometimes, I think, takes the fun out of it a little bit.
Well, of course,
this close to it. I don't mind doing it. Like we're no doubt we're going to start on episode 9 very soon and start doing deep dives into it. But when it comes closer to the time, I'm going to want to try and stay away from that.
I don't like doing it, mate. That's why I like listening to other people do it, but I don't like doing it. Because as a 7-year-old kid, we got the novelization of Star Wars by George Lucas before the film came out.
Yeah.
And it had, in the very middle of the book, in the spine area, was photographs of scenes from the film.
Yeah.
So again, is that spoilery? Well, I suppose it is to a degree. And you're already getting the book before the film comes out, so you know what the film's about.
Yeah, there's been a couple of Marvel, a couple of Avengers books have dropped this week that are that reference Endgame. They're kind of in between. I can't remember what one's called. One's kind of like the pirate, the tree, and the talking rabbit, or something like that. It's called, and the other one's got a more serious name. They're kind of side stories during the events between Infinity War and Endgame. I don't want to know. I don't want to go into this now as much of a fan as anything else. I will give as long as my phone doesn't crash, as soon as I watched it, I will record my thoughts and feelings.
Yeah, and I think you will be wiping a tear, I think, at the end of it. I think you'll get very emotional, mate, with this film. I think it's going to really touch some. I think it's going to touch some souls, I think. PlayStation, Sony. So The system architect, Mark Cerny, has shown off some of the internal components of the next generation PlayStation, which he is technically not currently calling PlayStation 5, and it's going to include a high-spec solid-state drive.
Yeah, boy.
Very exciting.
Have you seen the solid state drive basically means things load quicker.
That's right.
Have you seen the Spider-Man
Yeah.
footage? Yeah.
So that usually would take 15 seconds.
And it took 0.3, didn't it, or something
Point eight.
stupid? 0.8, sorry, 0.8, yeah.
So the other cool thing is that the GPU is capable. What does that stand for? The GPU
Graphics processing unit.
is capable of supporting ray tracing,
Ray
which will
tracing.
support PS4 backwards compatibility and won't be download only. And we also get a confirmation that the console will still accept all physical media rather than taking a download only streaming only form,
good.
which we've just said. And that ties into another aspect. It will be backwards compatible. And I think that's the most important thing. Although we don't know if it goes any further back through the generations than that,
it won't.
What I don't understand is this: the current PSVR model will also be compatible with the new console. Now, why can't something very high spec like a PS4 or a PS5 play a first generation PlayStation game that is simpler?
Well, there's a lot of reasons for that. Have you ever tried emulating old video games on a PC, new PC?
No.
Doesn't work sometimes. The actual process can be too fast.
Why wouldn't it though?
Oh, I'm not a technical wizard, mate, but I know that full well that when I've tried to emulate some things, they just don't work. They literally they are too powerful to run that. They can't. They process it too fast. It's to do with frame rates. It's to do with.
So I can understand putting an Xbox One disc in an old Xbox, because obviously the technology in that new game is too much for the old Xbox. But to put a very fast machine, have a very fast machine, very modern machine, and put an old game in there, you'd think, well, that surely must work. If it's on the disc, it's the same format.
It's not the same format for a start. I mean, it's a weird one. I mean, for a start, it does cost more. They have to do stuff programming wise and firmware and motherboard wise to be able to make these old games run. And I think the long and short of it is, if you really look at the figures, and the figures don't lie, people call out for backwards compatibility, but it's not something that's used. You know, we all get these wants to go, oh, let's play this. We can go backwards compatible on this. No one ever does. No one ever does go backwards compatible. It's very rare that you pick up a game. I think it's more the novelty factor of it. And I understand with this generation now, putting that backwards compatibility in, and I think PlayStation have probably realised that we used to live in a world where every 7 years, roundabouts, as a rough estimate, we would get the next iteration of games console. Right, it would be a 7-year cycle. We're not on that anymore. We're in the smartphone era of technology, and we're getting mid-generation leaps of consoles. And we had the PlayStation, and then we have the PlayStation Pro. We have the Xbox One. We have the Xbox One X. You've got the Nintendo, and the DS, and the DS Lite, and the DS 3DS. So this is now technology that grows to its user base. There's iterations mid-cycle that improves on the architecture and the firmware. And you look at games consoles as a whole anyway. You look at any generation of games consoles. There's 7 year cycles. 5 years into it is when you start getting the best games, because these people, the programmers, the developers, they start to work out how to use this architecture to the maximum of its capacity. You're looking at games like Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah.
This current generation of console, in my honest opinion, will not get any better than that. It's not a game for me these days. I mean, I would have loved it in the past. I loved the first one. But it's too much for me to play. But I can't deny its graphical, technical, and mechanical capability as a video game.
I absolutely love that game.
Flawless. I mean, for a game, you have to give Rockstar credit where credit's due. You look at Bethesda games, and they are known for their bugs. And to be honest with you, they're revered for their bugs. People like them. When they're not in there, they get a little bit annoyed because their bugs are charming.
Yeah, and also in Red Dead, there are some great bugs in there sometimes.
But nowhere near as many.
But no one
for
knows. Yeah.
the size of that game, for the amount of things that are in there, the amount of things you can do, that game should be broken as all hell. But Rockstar are clearly the top of their field. You
Well, I
know,
played
Sal
GTA
says,
5 last week, and again, I'm still like blown away by how open world it is. But for me, Red Dead clinches it. It just clinches it. I
I
mean,
get that, but you've even
you're
got to go
riding on
to
your
Red Dead.
horse, right? And there are little leaves flying down. There are
Yeah,
flies. There's frogs jumping around. There's a rabbit. There's a badger over there. There's some deer grazing. Then there's
I
some.
get that, but you've got to remember, what do you think of GTA 5? How does it look? It looks stunning, doesn't it? As a game, it's
Beautiful.
amazing. Come out in 2013, mate. We're talking a 6-year-old game now that you're comparing to their game that's just come out at the end of the life cycle. Of course, there's nothing in it because, of
What
course,
is
Red Dead
wonderful
is going to
about
look better.
GTA 5 is it's still got the backing, the servers are still
Yeah.
backing it, it's still dropping great numbers of people that are playing online. Whereas on Red Dead, you go online and there's barely half a dozen players.
Well, on
I
the
often I
best
often
sales list of the last year, I mean, GTA 5 was up there nearly every month at the top spot for most of it. It's only dropped off recently.
well, as we mentioned in our last podcast, we mentioned the top 10 video games of all time, didn't we?
Yeah,
And Tetris being the top one at 500 million, and Minecraft, Grand Theft Auto 5, Wii Sports, PUBG, Pokemon, Red, Blue, Green,
yeah,
Yellow, Super Mario Brothers, Mario Kart, Wii Sports Resort, and Diablo 3 was the number 10. Then you look at, well, hang on a minute, Fortnite.
it's free. Yeah, but I saw this comment in the group, right? And for a start,
Now,
Fortnite's free, so you
do we
can't
have to,
class that because
yeah,
it's
okay.
they're talking about best-selling games. If it's
Wasn't
free,
any,
it's not
wasn't one
selling,
of
is
those
it?
games free with the console? How many of those games are free with the
Wii
console?
Sports was free with the console, so that I find a bit of a weird one to put on there, to be
So
honest with
is the
you.
word video game, right? Because Fortnite wasn't that mobile before it was console?
No, Fortnite's always been was console before,
Was
and then
console.
went to mobile.
I don't know what that is then, because it's done a staggering amount of money, isn't it?
Yeah, but
Fortnite.
this is my point. You can't class Fortnite because it's a free game, right? You could let's be honest. I have it on my Switch and my PlayStation 4, and I play neither of them. Like to play
Yeah.
Fortnite on.
Candy
How
Crush
many?
was the other game that was mentioned in the group page,
But it's
wasn't
free.
it?
It's not
Yeah.
selling. This is the fundamental problem of that
So
that
how?
question there.
So yeah, it
You
might
know,
be the most downloaded game, it might be the most played, it might have earned the most
because you,
money in game.
I mean,
But
PUBG. There you
in
go,
terms of
PUBG.
going to the shop and buying it, 500,000,
Yeah,
500
but that's
million
the thing.
people use
PUBG
Tetris.
is on that list because PUBG is a paid-for battle royale game. You have to buy that game. It's not free. Fortnite is free, so that is why it's best-selling games. I mean, the clues in the title there of what
Yeah.
this article is, and I get what people say. There is obviously games out there that have done some numbers, but I bet you that Fortnite probably isn't anywhere near Tetris and
No,
GTA.
no,
Like
it's
it's
not.
you've got to remember GTA 5 has been out for 6 years and is still one of the best-selling games there is.
So out of that list of 10, what's your ultimate favorite out of those 10 there?
Right, so we've got
What couldn't you live without?
GTA.
Tetris,
Well, we've got Tetris,
Minecraft,
GTA, Minecraft.
Grand Theft Auto 5, Wii
Yeah,
Sports, PUBG, Pokemon, Super Mario Brothers, Mario Kart from the Wii Sports Resort, Diablo 3.
right. Okay. So the top three, I think, are well-deserved places. Right, and I know this did cause some contention in the group that people were like, "Oh, it's not a very good list." Um, for a start, you've got to look at what we think is great games and what are more widely relatable to people as a whole, that are more accessible for many ages and demographics, right? The first game on there is Tetris. That is a game, and I get this because that is a game that your mum played, your nan played, the kids played, and your uncle played. Everyone can play Tetris. It's a puzzle game. It's no different than sitting there playing Connect 4 with your family. It's just on a video screen. You don't need any background of playing video games. You work out how to push that button and turn the block and left and right. That is it.
Such a simple game.
Simple game. Left and right, move the block round, fit it in the hole, make block lines disappear. That is the fundamentals of that game. And that is why it works, because it is accessible to so many people. And like all puzzle games, which will always do well, such as Candy Crush and things like that, you can pick them up, put them down. There's a learning curve. You can get better. Yeah. And then you look at Minecraft. Minecraft is, regardless of what people say, I know it's become a bit of a parody as of itself, and there's people on the internet that will lambast it and say that it's terrible. It's for kids. It's for kids. It's for adults. It is Lego.
For everybody, yeah.
It is Lego on
Lego
your
Online on your computer. Yeah.
You can play. You know, they were one of the first ones to have cross-play, so Xbox could play against PC. This is a game that is literally, the world is your oyster. You can do what you want, and some of the things you see people creating there are absolutely outstanding. So there's no.
I spent 10 hours building one house.
Yeah, and I get
10 hours on my iPad.
Mate, you should see what Charlie's made. He's got this bloody castle, and it's got underground walkways, buttons that when you push it, doors open and water floods in, and all of this crazy stuff. You know, and he spent months building this with his girlfriend. They sit on the sofa and they play together, building this massive, you know, like underground tomb temple castle type thing. And it's fantastic to watch and go through and explore. But then you can have people that build games in it. You can have these online aspects of it. And I get why it's so big, and I get why Minecraft's there, because you can play it on your phone, you can play it on your Switch, you can play it on your console, you can play it on your computer. It is there for everyone to take and play, right? And then you've got GTA 5, which is just a work of art. So those top three places, I mean, I could sit there and talk about GTA 5 all night. Those top three places are well earned. PUBG surprises me in that list, to be honest with you. But the game that I couldn't live without, and I think more for the fact of because what it did for gaming as a whole, is Mario.
Mario Kart?
No, Mario. Super Mario, right? Mm-hmm. Because without that, I don't think games like that, not just saying it's specifically that one, but I think without games like Super Mario, and without games like Sonic, and without, you know, these landmark, character-driven sometimes, you know, properties, gaming wouldn't be where it is today.
Yeah.
Especially after the crash.
Funny enough, the two games that I like the most, the two violent games, PUBG and Grand Theft Auto. Yeah. You know, I couldn't choose which one of those I like the most.
I'm not saying that I don't like PUBG. I've played a bit of it, I enjoyed it, but I just don't.
You're right,
it surprises me that it's on that list.
The first game I played out of those was Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
That was the first game I played out of all of that list. I mean, I had Tetris, I think, on my Game Boy, but yeah, I think you're right, man. I think Super Mario Brothers is just a phenomenal game, and it's just, again, incredibly easy to play. You know, you don't have to be a genius to work out what you got to do. And yeah, it's surprising. It only took
definitely something you see
40 million
from this list of games. And like I say about accessibility, is a lot of them are very simple to play, and you can do what you want to do. Even down to PUBG. PUBG is all about survival, isn't it? You land, you go through, and you try and win. And Minecraft, you can do what you want in Minecraft. GTA 5, there's a story there, but let's be honest, the thing that we all enjoy doing most with GTA is just sandboxing. It's just going through and having fun. Yeah. You know, Tetris is a game that you can pick up and play, put down. These are all games that are very much pick up and play. Even Diablo 3. I mean, it surprises me Diablo 3 is it doesn't. I mean, it's got this huge fan base that literally goes mental when it comes out on a system, and they just go buy every copy. But again, that's a game about grinding. That's what it is. It's loot grinding. Go kill a load of stuff, get the loot, go back and do it again and again and again, and just keep leveling up and leveling up. Pick up, play, put down, and that's what this whole list is predominantly made of. Yes, I think games like Fallout and Skyrim are technically superior, but there's a reason, because people can't. It's not for everyone. Those games, they can't just pick up and go, oh yeah, I'll play Skyrim for 400 hours. It's not for them. And this list was never, I think it was always going to cause contention, because it's never the big games that people want. You know, that go, oh, this is my favourite game. It's not about your favourite game. It's about the best-selling games of all time. And these games that sell are games that are accessible for families, friends, and everyone to play.
Yeah. James Charles mentioned in the group, sorry, SNES Mario Kart was the best one of that. GoldenEye on the N64, no Zelda games, so
Yeah,
you
but
know,
this is, I get what James is saying, but this is exactly my point. We're not talking about the best
no,
games, the best selling games.
that's right.
And, yeah, Mario Kart on the SNES may be better, but there was a tenth of the amount of Nintendo sold as there was Wii's. So that is why, because everyone that had a Wii bought Mario Kart for the Wii, because it's going to be the best selling game. It's not about what is your favorite and what are the better games. It's about what are the best selling games. You could have I Am Toad or I Am Bread. That that game you can get on PlayStation Store. That could be on there if everyone bought it because it was a penny. Right? It's the best selling game, but it it's not a great game. Obviously, it's terrible, and that's what this list is. It's not about no GoldenEye, no GoldenEye on there because GoldenEye didn't sell 500 million copies. That is why it's not on the best selling list. I didn't get that argument in there about this, to be honest with you.
One particular franchise, Assassin's Creed, which I adore Assassin's Creed. But
Yes,
Assassin's Creed Unity, I don't know if you've seen the news,
yeah,
could help with Notre Dame. Now, we obviously know the news that Notre Dame had a wee fire, and one of the things that Assassin's Creed Unity has is the model of Notre Dame in the
Notre
game,
Dame, yeah.
beautifully drawn, and they're going to be using that detail, that level of detail of Notre Dame to help rebuild the cathedral, and that's when you think, wow, I posted in the group, this news when fiction helps fact. And it just shows, doesn't it, how incredible these games designers are.
Mm.
That they have modeled the reality that well that they are using the real life situations and going, okay, we've got this issue. Oh, look, this has been beautifully drawn in a computer game. Let's just use that computer game's
Yeah,
drawing of this building to
but
help rebuild something in the future, something for that's had a tremendous fire. So pretty astounding that, man.
it is. I mean, it's the level of detail that goes into games these days is absolutely crazy. I mean, Forza 5, is it the most recent Forza that come out on the Xbox?
Hmm.
It is. I was listening to an interview with one of the developers of that, and he said that to do the skies, because it looks beautiful, that game. I don't know if you've seen Forza.
I've played. I played
It
the demo.
just
Yeah,
looks stupidly
yeah.
good. I mean, it's real basically. And he said that to film the skies, they literally went out to all these different locations and filmed the skies over 4 seasons. So when you get the seasonal effects and the weather,
They're
it's all
real.
real. They've literally sat there and filmed the
Yeah.
sky for days on end.
Let's
Like,
talk about this, right?
who gets that
Why?
job? No, I want to know who has that job. Let's talk about
Well,
that because I want that job. Send me to Dubai to film the sky for 4 nights. Okay.
yeah. Why are arcade games not up to the same level graphically as console games? So recently, I was in a arcade, and I was in there looking for the latest arcade games, arcade races, for example, and the graphics are appalling. Why is that?
Honestly, I think that comes down to supply and demand. Why bother putting in as much detail and attention for something that isn't going to be as universally played? You're not talking about 500 million copies being sold here, are you? You're talking about, a, a fraction of that going into arcades and playing them. But then on the other hand, have you seen Fireteam Raven, the Halo
Yeah,
arcade machine?
yeah,
You can't fault that. It looks
that's pretty
amazing.
damn good.
There's a Tomb Raider one as well that looks good. It's not up to the same spec. I think it's a hardware thing. I think it's time, it's money. I mean, these games are being built by a subsidiary of a developing studio, or probably even outsourced. They've got the elements and the and all the gumph to go with it, but they're being built by someone else to be put on an arcade that's going to be put in not as many places. And I just think, why bother putting the time and attention into it that you're going to put into something like Forza? These driving games, they serve their purpose. They look okay. You go with your mates, you put a couple of quid in, you have a bit of fun, and then you go on to the next machine. You're not as a consumer. You're not purchasing this for a long-term thing, are you? You're not. You buy Forza, and you could potentially, that could be it for the whole generation of that console if you really invest the time into it. I know somebody who does GT Sport, and he's in a league. Every Friday night, he has to get home in time to be in his racing league and his championships, and it's getting pretty big with him. And this is a game is spent what, 60 quid on the game. He spent £600 on a rig setup for a steering wheel and foot pedals. He spent £200 on a monitor, a 4K monitor to have it on. He spent another couple of £100 on the chair.
Wow.
He spent he bought a PS4 Pro and swapped in his old one so that this would look better on his monitor. And this is a guy that spent over £1,000 on playing a game every Friday night. And you go into an arcade to play a racing game, you might spend £6. Do you know what I mean? And I think that honestly, that is the only reason why they don't look as good as they could do.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a shame.
One game that it hasn't taken that kind of money that we've seen in this list, but one game that I know that is still incredibly popular is the game Overwatch. Have you ever played Overwatch?
No, it's never done anything for me. I'm not into hero shooters anyway, and really this battle royale stuff is a dying trend for me anyway.
Yeah, well, it's still an incredible game, and that's looking like it's possibly going to get a Switch crossover, which will be magnificent.
That'd be a game changer for me.
Yeah,
that might sway me into it because I want pick up and play on my Switch, and that's the sort of game you can do that with. I haven't played Fortnite recently. The last time I did was on my Switch because I did it in bed. I had a couple of rounds and went to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't, if I play it downstairs, I'm going to fall asleep in front of the TV, and that'll be the end of it. So
yeah.
I'm
without my Xbox at the moment. My son's taking it, and I can't wait to get back onto Red Dead. And I love playing online, man. I just like riding about on my horse. I like feeding it, patting it, giving it a brush. Skinning animals. It's weird because as a vegetarian, I actually quite like killing these animals, skinning them, and
it's all that pent up rage, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I get a right kick out of that game, to be honest. But unfortunately, there are a lot of griefers on there now, and these are people that just go out just to knock seven bells of what's out of you, and frustrate you immensely. So much so that you have to leave the online game and go back out and come back in on a different server. And that's really frustrating. That's one thing I'm finding really hard is if I just want a nice game, just doing a bit of fishing and doing a couple of going up to a stranger and taking on a job. These guys just want to wreck your chances of getting any money. And
it's the longest west, mate. What do you expect?
Yeah,
everyone to pick flowers together and
it's like that on there. It is like that on there, but it's a cracking game, man. So it's Easter. Did you indulge yourself in some Easter chocolate?
I didn't get one egg.
Did you not?
No, didn't get one Easter egg. Yeah. Yourself?
I'm off chocolate currently.
Yeah. So am I, apparently. No one wanted to buy me an Easter egg. I even went up with Mum's for dinner. Didn't get an Easter egg. Cheers, Mum. Yeah. But
not for me, unfortunately. One of the things about being vegan is that you can't eat milk chocolate, and milk chocolate is a thing of beauty.
You gone back to vegan, have you?
No.
Oh, I was gonna say.
That's the thing why I couldn't, because it doesn't leave you with a lot in the shops, does it? If you're vegan, when it comes to Easter eggs, there's nothing.
Don't they do lettuce eggs?
Possibly.
Just someone buys you an iceberg, draws a pattern on it, and goes, there you go. Wraps it in foil, hides it under a bush. I didn't really do much for Easter, but like I say, we watched Hop this morning. It was me and my wife alternate Sunday mornings for a lie-in, and today was my time to get out with my daughter. And I did the good dad thing and let her eat some chocolate straight off when she opened an egg. After a breakfast, I wasn't that bad. She had a breakfast and then she had a bit of chocolate, and we watched Hop, and Then we did some baking, and that was it. And we went up to my mum's for dinner. So Easter's, to be honest, I don't really get it. I don't really get this Easter malarkey thing. You know,
Nah.
it's good you get some chocolate. I didn't even get that this year,
Right.
so
Yeah.
screw it. You know,
Never mind.
I ate
I,
not cross bun. That was all right.
I bet Jeremy would have had some chocolate if he was here.
Well, you know,
I think he would have done. He would have pinched Freddy's. Yeah.
probably. Yeah.
Chocolate. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, to wrap things up for this week's little show, what do you fancy watching next week? Anything on your hit list apart from Endgame? Game of Thrones, of course, which
Well,
is
we'll watch Game
tonight.
of Thrones tomorrow night.
So you watch that tonight? Yeah.
Tuesday night is going to be Captain Marvel. I've already pinned that one down.
Mhm.
Thursday night I'll be editing this, so it leaves me with Wednesday to try and put something in now. But I really do want to watch Bodyguard, the BBC drama. I've watched the trailer for it on Netflix, and it gripped me, and definitely on my radar, that one.
I mean, I know a lot of people that really loved that show
Mm.
when it was on, and they were gripped by it. So yeah, I would like to know what you think of it.
Mm.
What have I got to watch next week? Well, I watched Into the Spider-Verse again yesterday, and I absolutely loved that film. I watched Aquaman again as well, and I watched The Silence, which I really loved on Netflix. Turn Up Charlie is just fabulous. Lucy, obviously, I watched that a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, boy.
And I watched 47 Ronin, which
Yeah.
I hadn't seen for a long time. Yeah, I think majority of that film is pretty damn good. Black Summer, which I absolutely adored. I thought that was really, really good. If you like good, grippy zombies, then this is a great thing to watch. It's a real zombie apocalypse series. I think there's only 8 episodes, yeah, and it's really good. It's about a character who loses her family, and she tries to find her daughter, and events happen to some of the other characters that all sort of accumulates together. Worth watching, worth checking out. And I look forward to us chatting next Sunday after we've seen Endgame, mate.
Poor Jeremy.
Yeah.
As much as I cursed him at the start of this, he's missing out on that. Unless they've got, where he's out in Turkey, they've got Turkish Avengers, like the Turkish Star Wars. That'd be good. You can fit that in.
Yeah, have you ever seen things like the Indian Spider-Man? Ever seen that?
Yes, it's brilliant.
Oh, good God, yeah, incredible.
Yeah,
But
great
yeah,
in their own right.
I'm really looking forward to it. And again, we'll try and do can we do a spoiler-free show of that? It's gonna
No, there will be a spoiler cast, unfortunately, I think. But then I know that
Well,
the
the time
majority
we
of our
release
listeners.
the next week's episode, it'll be the following Friday. So if you
I think
haven't
that,
seen Endgame, it'll be very unlikely.
just pre-warning that not this Friday, but next Friday episode. If you haven't seen Endgame by then, don't bother listening until after you've watched it.
Do download it.
You can download it later on.
Download the
Once
Keep it there.
once you've watched it, download it and listen to it. And I think we've got to give people a bit of leeway on this, because this isn't your ordinary fare, is it? I mean, we were talking about this earlier, actually, me and Stace, with Game of Thrones. I said to her, "Damn it, man, why can't they just release it all in one go?" And then I said that I was talking to her, and I thought actually it wouldn't work, because people would binge watch it, and people like myself haven't got the opportunity to binge watch it. I'd have to watch it over a couple of nights, and therefore the ending would be out on the internet before I even got a chance to get around to watching it. It'd be everywhere within the next few hours, because people would skip to the end just to watch the end and ruin it for everyone else. And this is the thing with Endgame, is I will stay away from everything I can between now and next week, and I implore anyone else that is going to watch it to stay away from us until after you've seen it, on the next for our next episode, because I won't be able to talk about it without spoiling it, because to me anything's a spoiler. When people say, this character turns up, well, that ruins it, because that is a big thing for me. I want to know. I want to see that myself. I get to that point with films like this, I don't want to know. And if someone ruins it in game for me, I'll probably be in prison and never be able to watch it anyway. So
before we go, we've got to have a shout out to Master System. He sent us a fantastic.
I like that one.
He sent us a fantastic review on iTunes, and thank you so much, mate. Whoever you are, Love It was the title. 5 stars. What a great show.
Oh, he must be from South East London, I reckon. Love it.
Love it. What a great show. This podcast covers everything in pop culture, both old and new. The guys talk with enthusiasm and passion and are rarely negative. If you love Star Wars, Marvel, Game of Thrones, toys, video games, and nonsense, then this is the podcast you've been looking for. Thanks so much, mate, for that. And if you are listening, thank you so much. And if you are listening, where is your review? We'd love to get a review from you. Also, comments would be fantastic too. If you could send some to our email address, which is
contact@retroinkpodcast.co.uk.
Thank you very much. Once again, you have been listening to the Retro Inc. podcast production, a member of the Star Wars Commonwealth Podcast Network, and you can check out more from the Commonwealth at starwarscommonwealth.com. And those are podcasts such as Talk Star Wars, Tumbling Saber, The Nerd Room, Generation X-Wing, Rogue Squadron, San Diego Sabres Rodeo Podcast, the Sandcrawler Podcast, Tatooine Sons Podcast, and of course, us at Retro Inc. You can go to our website and check stuff out there, retroinkpodcast.co.uk. You can join us on Twitter, Instagram, the Retro Inc. Facebook page, and our community on the Facebook group page. The Retro Inc. YouTube channel also has every podcast on there. And you can find us and many other podcasts, as I say, at starwarscommonwealth.com. I've been Adam for this week's show. You've been
Andy.
Yes. And thank you so much for listening. And thank you for downloading our podcast and continuing the support on the Facebook group page. I bid you farewell. Andy, you bid?
Be seeing you.
Be seeing you.
Jeremy's not here to ruin it. Auf Wiedersehen. Adios, amigo. I'll be back. What can I throw in while he's not here?
That'll do.
That'll do, donkey. That'll do.
Take care, and we'll see you next time.